Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Kat Withrich from Admiral Consulting Group. I just wanted to thank you all so much for joining us on today's webinar on this beautiful spring day. Looks like many of you are our existing Dynamics clients. Good to see you. But for those of you who are joining us for the very first time, it is such a pleasure to have you with us. We are a New Jersey-based Microsoft Gold partner. We provide business management solutions to our clients across the country and around the world. Today, a very special day, we've invited DynamicPoint here to show us how to use their portal solutions together with Office 365 to help automate your business processes. Especially given the challenges of doing business during a pandemic, it's more important than ever to leverage technology to help you facilitate communication not only with your customers and your vendors, but also internally among your employees as well. So we're very glad you're here. We hope we can help you automate. That is our goal for today, and we'd love for this session to be as interactive as possible. So if you have any questions during the presentation, please do feel free to type those into the chat or the Q&A box, and we'll get those answered. We've got a lot of people coming on today. Several have logged in already, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mike Marson from DynamicPoint. He's got extensive experience working with Dynamics end users like you folks to automate business processes. So we're excited to have you here, Mike. Thanks for joining us. And with that, I'm just going to turn the webinar right over to you.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Kat. I will try to keep the energy up. So thank you for that, and I'll try to keep it going. And then again, thank you everyone for joining. It's going to be a pretty quick meeting today. We have it scheduled for a half hour, and according to my watch, we're about almost 5 minutes in it. So today's agenda is we're looking at portals for business automation built on top of the Office 365 framework. As we're going through it, if there's any questions, feel free to go ahead and put them in either the question or raise your hand in the question or the chat window. I'll do my best to look at those as we're going through it. So just a quick agenda overview, brief intro of who DynamicPoint is and what it is that we're doing or discussing today. Overview of business automation and what we're trying to accomplish. And then from there, we'll go right into the demonstration. We'll do a brief portal overview and basically what a portal means and what's capable of it. And then we'll go over a couple sort of use cases or demonstrations on how you could use the portal for business automation. And the two that we'll be looking at today is both vendor onboarding as well as a customer contract renewal. There's a lot of flexibility on those examples, but we want to showcase some real life solutions for you on how you could use the portal to automate entire business processes. From there, I'll leave you with some homework on some further reading. If we have a little bit of time, we'll cover some Q&A, and that'll be it. So we'll run through this very quickly. So just a quick brief introduction of who DynamicPoint is. So essentially what DynamicPoint is we create apps on top of Office 365. So this is who we are today. The best analogy that I've been able to come up with there is it's very similar to creating apps on top of a mobile platform, such as an Android or an iPhone, right? Anytime we've installed an app on those devices, which I'm sure we have in our lives, it asks, can I use various features of the mobile platform? Can I use the camera? Can I use location services, etc.? And that's exactly what we do, but we are using this ecosystem that's provided to us by Microsoft. We've been around since 2009. Office 365 has not been around that long, so we actually evolved from a SharePoint development company to an Office 365 app company. As far as our product offerings, we have several. We have an invoice automation as well as an employee expense. Those are more just FYI, because today we are focused on our portal app. So a brief introduction to the architecture of the portal app. So basically what the portal app is it's taking a concept that by no means I could take credit for inventing, but this concept of SharePoint as a portal, but not just a portal for my internal employees, but as a portal for my external users, customers, vendors, as well as employees too. But this concept of that SharePoint is no longer just an internal content management system, but I want to open this up to outside parties. So in an effort to support this, Microsoft has made these external users, if we're looking at vendors or customers, basically free of charge. I say quote unquote free because they're really included with your subscription. So if you're an Office 365 licensed user, you get the capability to collaborate with customers and vendors with no limit on those accounts for no additional costs. So we're taking this portal concept and we're adding an app to it. So with this portal, Microsoft provides a whole app ecosystem, which our product is. And this app is basically a configurable tool for connecting to data that exists within other systems, namely an ERP such as Microsoft Dynamics, either Business Central, Finance and Operations, GP, Nav, etc., or a CRM system. So what the portal product is adding to this mix is the ability to connect to the data as it resides in some external system. Now, what does that mean? For customers, it's such things as orders and shipments. For vendors, it's such things as purchase orders and invoices, etc. So what it is doing is basically providing a window into that ERP information for whoever the user is. In addition, we're also filtering it. So if a vendor logs in, of course, they're only going to see their purchase orders. A customer would only see their sales orders. So now that I have that framework, I could bring into it all of the tools of Office 365, including Power Automate and things like that for workflow, Power Apps, Power BI, etc., to enable more functionality with this framework now that I have it in place. And with these tools, this really what provides the business automation and the ability to take workflows and automate them, again, using this platform provided by Microsoft. So what are some examples, right? Now that we have this, what are some examples from a customer perspective? Maybe viewing their company information, sharing contracts and agreements, order entry, right? So we definitely have customers using the portal to create new orders. Looking at inventory, payment processing, such that I could pay my invoices online, help desk. From a vendor perspective, same type of use cases, but obviously on the vendor side, manage their information, terms and condition, confirm POs, payment status, shipment, etc. So all the things that I would want to collaborate with on my vendors. On the employee side, it's usually more HR focused or project management, such as forms and handbooks, time entry, project management. If I want to share an insight to various company operations, such as manufacturing status, as well as reporting and analytics. So enough of the introduction, we'll get right to it. And I have several demo portals up that I'm going to be going through. The thing to note is they're all using the same product, right? So we're all using the portal product with, again, an Office 365 SharePoint page. So we'll start off on my customer portal, we'll look at my vendor portal, and then we'll start talking about business automation that I could do from there. So what do I have here on my customer portal? Again, Office 365 site. The only quote unquote magic is we've deployed our app to this site. The look and feel, the branding is entirely up to you. So I'm using a SharePoint Modern page here with various calls to action of things that I want my customers to do, such as look at sales orders or create new service cases, look at invoices, etc. I also have the ability for them to look at their company information, maybe manage their profile, maybe contact me. I have an integrated Power BI report here showing some statistics for this customer. In this case, the customer is a reseller, so I have a scorecard for them that is being filtered for their logged in user, as well as just a document library that's being filtered. So in this case, I'm sharing contracts and product specifications that are unique to that customer. And then lastly, an integrated chat. So I do have a chat widget added to this portal such that my customers could chat directly with me. So one note about branding, right? The branding, the look and feel, again, this is going in your Office 365 tenant. If you don't like the look and feel of mine, I'm by no means offended. Microsoft provides something what they call the lookbook. It's just lookbook.microsoft.com that is intended to give you inspiration on how you want your site to look. So you could click through this and say, hey, that's a pretty one, and then basically download a template directly from this page. So they have all kinds of, sort of templates or samples or inspiration, whatever you want to call it, to get you started on a look and feel of this page or this portal. Okay, so we'll close this out, right? So a lot of what you're seeing here as far as presentation, the ability to share documents and things like that, a lot of it is coming from SharePoint itself, right? Because it is the backbone to this. What our portal product is adding to the mix, again, is if I click on this, it's going to call my ERP system. In this case, it's calling Business Central, and then show whatever data I have configured for essentially that interaction. So in this case, I'm giving my customers the ability to see sales orders, the associated status of the sales orders, drill into line items for their customer account. From here, I could drill into it, look at it more in a form view, look at the details on the line items, etc. So you can see this one's pretty simple. It's just a read only. I'm not giving my customers the ability to create anything. I'm not giving them the ability to edit anything yet. I sort of start off simple, and then we'll move our way up and get more sophisticated as far as examples. You'll also notice a print icon. By clicking on this print icon, what is occurring in the background is we're calling the ERP's report, and we're rendering it to the customer as a PDF. Why as a PDF? A PDF is a very portable format that is supported across mobile phones as well as various browsers. So whatever device they're using to connect to the portal, they can now see this PDF, download it, print it, save it, whatever they want to do. So again, the portal is a window into that information. We're not replicating any detail, nor are we storing any of this information. It is really just a window into the data that is residing elsewhere, in this case, the Microsoft Dynamics ERP system. If I want to start moving upstream in complexity, right? So say I want to give my customers the ability to edit orders or maybe create new ones. This is the same list of sales orders, but I've just enabled a couple more features here. And I've given the customer the ability to edit certain aspects of their orders. So for sake of example, they want to change the bill to or ship to, and go ahead and update that or submit that for review and approval. I now am giving them the capability to do so. As you notice, they also have a submit capability, which in my case is going to route it for an approval workflow. Now, as they're interacting in this portal, again, we have tie-ins or hooks, to you will, to various automation features within the Microsoft Dynamics suite, including Power Automate. So if I go to my email, you can see here I'm generating notifications through those workflow capabilities of all my interactions in the portal. So this is the order I just submitted with all of the details on the order, as well as this is the update that I did. So I could see here, this is my bill to and, my ship to city, my old value, new value, and what I've updated to. All right, we'll continue to move upstream in complexity. Maybe I want to give my customers the ability to enter orders. Now, this is generally geared to sort of a B2B environment, right? It's not an Amazon e-commerce experience. It's very much creating an order using a portal form in a very simplistic fashion that automatically creates it within the Microsoft Dynamics ERP system. So it's not geared towards a B2C, Amazon, enter my credit card, browse catalog type experience, but more of a B2B environment. So you can see it called the ERP system, defaulted all my information for my customer, and then from there I could begin adding items. It is, again, not providing the business logic, it is leveraging the business logic, so such things as the price list, things like that, inventory availability will all come through directly from the ERP product. Again, I could submit that, which in this case is going to generate some notifications and some workflow to make sure that this is approved. So once you start getting the hang of it, those were just orders. If I wanted my customers to see invoices or initiate payment, they can most certainly do that. It's just what we call another service or integration with another point of data. If I would like to them to create service cases, etc., maybe update their company information. So if they want to update their contacts directly here and create new contacts, they can most certainly do that as well. All of these could either go for workflow or automatically create themselves within Microsoft Dynamics or other ERP systems. So that's my customer example. Let's shift focus a little bit and go to a vendor example. Almost the same thing, right? But now as opposed to looking at orders, I'm looking at vendor invoices or vendor purchase orders. Now, vendors are probably not going to create purchase orders. That's a bit of a stretch, but maybe I want to give them the ability to update information. So they could go ahead and go in here and update an expected delivery date and acknowledge a PO. So by acknowledging this PO and updating the delivery date, that is getting updated directly in Microsoft Dynamics. And you better believe if a vendor is going to update that, I'm going to have a notification here of what their exchange has been in the portal. So in this case, I've logged their new delivery date and logged the fact that they've acknowledged a PO. So that was the vendor example. So at the very, sort of elementary perspective, if I go back to my presentation really quick, what the portal is providing is a source of data sharing and reporting collaboration, etc. Again, it's providing this window into my information that exists within my ERP product. As I start moving sort of upstream from these basic elements of reporting, I could start applying workflow and ultimately obtain more business automation, given that now I have this platform for collaboration. So usually this is the journey that we see with portal customers is, hey, I want to share this. I'm tired of someone calling me, asking me for this information. Hey, I want them to have the ability to generate their own reports. To how do I take an entire business process using these workflow tools of Office 365 and automate that entire business process? So let's look at some examples of that. Go to the next slide here. So how about a vendor onboarding process, right? So that's something that we've seen before where I want to work with a new vendor. So I want to request this new vendor, maybe send them an invitation. Usually with a vendor, I got to collect some onboarding forms, some tax documentation, etc. Want the vendor to complete this, and then upon them completing their part of the onboarding process, I want to have a manager review this as well as automatically bring in that vendor to my ERP system. So we're going to go ahead and look at that example of a vendor onboarding. So here I have a simple Microsoft form, again, part of the Office 365 stack. I will tell you that this is integrated with a workflow, right? So by me going in as an admin and requesting this new vendor, I am going to kick off a workflow process to onboard this new vendor. So if I give it a minute here and open up my email, I have received an invitation from this proposed company, right? Now I'm pretending to be the vendor, that they would like me to complete the attached form to set up my vendor account. Now, as you can notice, this isn't just a standard email, it's actually coming from DocuSign. Power Automate has integration with DocuSign. And in this case, I've brought in, as well as a onboarding form that I've created, an entire W-9 for the vendor to fill out online. So I could go ahead, of course, and fill this various aspect out. Avenue. I won't bore you with me typing in all of this. I have a simple checklist here of what type of business I am. And then the real bulk of it, right? I want them to complete a W-9 for me. They get to pick what type of company they are, and then most importantly, I want to capture their electronic signature. So that's really the reason I brought this in. The DocuSign is, there's hard to say there's a better tool out in this world for capturing this electronic signature. So I can draw my signature, go ahead and say that looks great. Obviously a little bit of chicken scratch, but then from a vendor perspective, I could say I'm done with this form and then finish it. So again, back to my example or my sample process, in addition to the vendor being submitted with this, I want to require managerial approval. So you can see here I received a new vendor request. It just got kicked off after that vendor completed the form. And if you're paying attention closely, you can see I also got a notification that came in through Teams. So any of these approval steps that I'm using, obviously for business automation, automatically integrates with Microsoft Teams. So if I were to drag Teams over here so you could see it, I have this same new vendor request in my activity feed for Teams. By clicking on it, I could again have the same action of approve or rejecting this new vendor request. But more likely than not, I want to review the details. So by clicking on that link there, it's going to go ahead and open up that completed DocuSign contract, which is now saved to a SharePoint library. So I could review their submission and say, this all looks good, and then approve or reject it, either from email or directly from Teams. I'll go ahead and do it from Teams just because I have it up. This email, by the way, is no longer relevant. So as you notice, my approve and reject options automatically disappeared, saying, nice try, but you've already completed it. So now that this vendor request is done, a couple things happen. One, I created that vendor automatically using their input of their data that we captured on the form. And then last but not least, I'm sending a vendor invitation, or an invitation, I should say, to that vendor saying, hey, you're now a new vendor in our system. If you'd like to access the portal, go ahead and click this link. Now, I didn't spend a lot of time making this pretty, but obviously I'd probably want to put some branding and some logos and things like that on the email notification. But from that link, I could go ahead and drive them right back into the portal where now they could do such things as see their purchase orders. So that's one example of business automation. Hopefully you could sort of take that example and apply that to other scenarios. If I want to look more on a customer side, I could do contract expiration. So my other example of business automation is taking a contract that is expiring, have my customer request a renewal on this, and then same type of thing, managerial approval with automatic integration to the ERP system with the new renewal date. So let's go ahead and look at that. So I'm going to go to my job cost portal. I'm going to look at my contracts. So this is more of a portal that's geared towards customers, but it's looking at jobs in the system. So a little bit different use case here. And I could look at my various contracts and say, whoa, that one just expired, and I want to request a renewal on this. So again, this renewal is going to kick off some automation as far as a workflow, as well as some forms and additional detail that I want to capture. So you can see here I've received an email. Thanks for initiating the request to renew that contract, the switch installation contract, complete the renewal form here. In this case, I have not used DocuSign. I've used a simple Microsoft form. How's your experience been? It's been great. What would you like to do? Okay, I want to renew it. And then I'm going to update to, say, let's put the expiration date to, I don't know, the end of the week, and then submit it. In this one, I don't have an approval process for it, but if I go back to the status of that contract and see that it was expired on the 2nd of April and refresh my screen, I should see that the new expiration date has been automatically updated through the workflow completing, and then through that carrying through with updating the expiration date directly in this case, Microsoft Dynamics with that new expiration date. So again, just another example, in this case, looking more from a customer perspective, but how you could use this to automate entire processes as well as just the sharing of data. To go back to my slide, I will go ahead and go past that demonstration. So some further reading on this, again, the idea of a portal using SharePoint Office 365 functionality is nothing I could take credit for inventing. There is Microsoft documentation out here that's covering this. I can most certainly share this with everyone after the call. But again, this is a concept that is being provided by Microsoft. They are providing their tools for collaboration as an extranet. And then essentially what DynamicPoint is doing is adding our app to the picture, which enables the integration with the data as it exists in the ERP product. So, believe it or not, that is it for today. So we made it through with time. If you guys have any questions, you could feel free to put them into the question panel and I'll take a look at them. So I'm happy to wait a few minutes for that, but otherwise we could go ahead and round it up and call it a day. If anyone is interested in our portal product, I've also shared our information there. There is recorded videos as well as demonstrations on our site, as well as pricing if anyone's interested at dynamicpoint.com. But I'll give everyone a minute, and if you had anything else to add, Kat, please go ahead.
Hey, thanks, Mike. That was really great. It must have been very helpful for a lot of our customers. A lot of really good information in there. And I just want to highlight as well that there's even more resources available at dynamicpoint.com. Lots of good info to digest there. Feel free to reach out to me after the demo if you'd like to have more information. We're happy to schedule a private session for you and your team. We can talk through your scenario, take a look at how that would come to fruition in DynamicPoint, get you a proposal, anything you need to evaluate the solution further. We're happy to help. I'll be sending a recording of the webinar today along in an email the next few days. So, feel free to reply to me there as well if you'd like to take this further. Thanks again, Mike. Really a great job today. Happy to have you here. And we hope that everybody will join us again on our next webinar.
Thank you so much for your time and have a great day.
Thanks, you too. Take care, everybody. Stay safe out there.